Hello, I'm Noah.
I'm Yoel.
And I'm Eli.
And we're on a mission to reduce our school's emissions. Anthropogenic global warming is causing many changes around our planet.
Anthropogenic global warming is when humans add too many carbon sources to the earth, causing more greenhouse gases to rise into the atmosphere, heating up our earth.
Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, and more.
Effects of anthropogenic global warming include melting of polar ice caps, differences in migration of animals, extinction of animals, and much more. The main effects that we will be focusing on are global warming's effects on coral reefs.
There are many effects of global warming on coral reefs. One of them is coral bleaching.
Bleaching coral is when oceans warm up and the zooxanthilla leave the coral, making the coral white. Zooxanthilla is an organism responsible for the coral's overall color and health.
Another effect is that when ocean acidity increases, it becomes harder for coral to create skeletons because they cannot absorb as much carbon carbonate from the ocean.
And finally, since the sea levels are rising, the corals are getting less and less sunlight.
So you won't be seeing many of these beautiful ecosystems anymore. Food waste is a big problem in the world and in our country.
So that's why we decided to focus on food waste as a way to reduce our carbon footprint. 40% of the U.S.'s food goes to waste, and 33% of the entire world's food goes to waste.
97% of food waste goes to landfills.
Food in landfills turns into methane, a greenhouse gas that influences global warming 21 times more than carbon dioxide.
We presented to every elementary grade.
Vermicomposting uses earthworms to turn organic waste into very high-quality compost.
And it reduces the methane emitted into the atmosphere, and that will help us reduce our school's carbon footprint.
This is what a vermicomposting bin should look like on day one. You got your nice moisture in here. It's really nice and wet. You got the newspaper in there to keep it moist. You also have a little bit of food just to start off your worms. And throughout the entire vermicomposting experience, you want to keep a ratio of about 3 to 1. 3 being all the newspaper, the soil, all that, to 1 food to keep fruit flies away, keep it from smelling bad, and also just keeping a lot of other bad things from happening, like the worms having too much. But when the worms eat this food, it'll turn into a great fertilizer, which will help plants grow, and it's one of the best fertilizers you can ever get. So, and it'll really help any gardening experience, anything that you need, a good soil, good fertilizer. This is just great because it's organic fertilizer.
These are composting bins that our school has been keeping up.
This compost uses bacteria to break down the materials, but in our compost, which is a form of vermicomposting, we use worms to break down the materials.
Just as good.
This vermicomposting is just as good because it saves methane from being released into the air. However, it doesn't produce as much of a fertilizer as the vermicomposting does, but it still produces a good, healthy soil. After doing all of the presentations, we thought that the biggest challenge was making sure that the classes kept up with the vermicomposting bins. A problem, though, was that the worms were escaping, and when they escaped, they would dry up. We solved this problem by moving the bins to a shadier spot and increasing the amount of food that we put in the bin. I'm Noah.
I'm Yoel.
And I'm Eli.
And we will reduce our school's emissions.